Hello, my name is Jimmy Vegas and welcome to this, the 10th in a series of video tutorials on how to create a first-person shooter in Unity 5. So before we begin, I would like to give a very personal thank you to Gabriel Landowski, who is the latest person to offer their donation in support of our tutorials. Without these donations, it's hard for us to make these tutorials, and we really do give our appreciation and thanks to everyone who does. So in this episode, we're going to be looking at a bit more GUI for this. We're going to be using a bit of animation, importing the texture. Ideally, what I want to do is create a moving door over here, like a sort of sliding door. So let's begin straight away, shall we? What I'm going to do first is I'm going to extend these two walls here. In fact, let me make the scale. In fact, no, I don't want that. I want this, let's see, by 2.5. I'm going to increase that to 1, just to make it a bit thicker. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a nice simple door. I forgot to mention, we'll also be dealing a little bit with enhancing graphics as well in this one. So game object, 3D object, cube. And let's put our cube around somewhere where we would expect the door to be. So here, I'm going to change the scale on the x-axis to 0.5. Let's increase the size to maybe 4. Yeah, I think 4 is a good one. And let's increase it on the Z or Z to half of that too. And let's put that just there. Okay, so I'm going to import this door texture. And as always, you can head to our website and download it for free in the Downloads and Assets section. Next thing, drag and drop your door onto that texture. And there we go. We have a fairly decent texture on there. But if we press play now and walk over to the door itself, it does look a little bit flat and a bit bland. So we can change this by using something called a normal map. So if you select the door texture, hold Control, press D to duplicate, it'll create an identical copy. If you go over here then on the one that says door 1, on texture type, you can drop down that list and select normal map. And we'll keep the bumpiness set as 0.25 and just click apply. And this image will then turn a sort of pinky purple color. All that does is on the material that we use for our door, which is this one, we can then set a few different settings on the material, i.e. normal map, which will give it a kind of bumpy looking effect as if light is shining off it. So let's head to our textures and let's drag and drop this normal map just here. And you'll notice the door then appears a bit more realistic, as it were, rather than just being flat. Now the same can apply to the crate, so let's do that now. Hold Control, press D to duplicate the crate texture. Head over to the drop down, normal map, and apply. In fact, what we'll do is let's decrease the bumpiness to 0.1 and then click apply again. So it doesn't appear quite as bumpy. Let's head to the materials, crate, and remember we're dragging and dropping it into the normal map area. So let's do that right now. And you should see the two crates we've already input change. Give it a bit more of a realistic look. Okay, next thing we're going to do is let's make this door slide open using an animation. Now we've dealt with animation a couple of times before. We've used it for some GUI and we've used it to actually animate our gun. So process is going to be almost the same on this one. So in your animations folder, click on the door and then click the animation tab. Let's create a new animation. Let's call this door 001 anim. And same as we've done before, let's set our position up here on the Z or Z axis as what it should be. So you're just kind of overwriting what it says so as it sets the first frame. And I want this door to open in exactly a second. So let's set it to 60. And then let's just move the door along to where it looks like it will be open. So about there. And I also want it to close in another second. So we'll set this to 120. And then we'll set this number here back to what it was in the first frame. In this case, it was minus 11.04. And let's stop that animation. So if we head back into our game by pressing play, excuse me, we should now see our door opening and closing. So yeah, that's all good and well. But ideally what we want to do is make sure the door is permanently closed and we have a switch at the side to open it. So I'm just going to copy this. So Control D to duplicate. And I'm going to move it across to there. So as we now actually have a doorway to enter through. So next thing we need to do is click on door and let's disable the animator because we don't want it to animate as we start the game up. What we'll need to do is in our canvas, let's firstly set up some GUI with some text that says open door. So let's go to game object, let's go to UI, and let's go to text. And double click the text and bring it all the way out and just switch the scene around just so it's kind of a bit better for us to see. Okay, so I'm going to put this text dead center and then I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. I'm not going to go into too much detail with the fonts and I'm not going to make it too fancy. You can spend some time making it as fancy as you want. I'm just going to put in the text blank for now. And I'm going to make it white. And in fact, let's make it bold so as it becomes a bit more clearer. And maybe 16. And I'm going to save my scene there now, just in case. So what we're going to need to do now is we're going to need to write a script where when our cursor, excuse me, our cursor is over a particular area, i.e. a switch, we're able to press the switch and the door will open. So we need to write two scripts for this. Now the first script we've already dealt with in partially because we've dealt with Raycast. We're going to write another Raycast script which another script can reference easily. So in your scripts folder, right click, create, and we'll go with JavaScript. I'm going to call this just simply player casting. And let's open it up in MonoDevelop or Visual Studio, whichever one you use, makes no difference. So this first script is going to have just two variables I think we'll need, and just a couple of lines of code on our Raycast. So let's start by clearing everything. And the first one we'll need is a variable, but it has to be a static variable. So static var, and what should we call it? How about distance from target? Distance from target, and that will be of type float. So what this variable is going to do is it's going to contain how far away we are from any particular target. The next one we need, var, is just put to target, and this will also be a float. So it's a way of handling it internally. Now we need this Raycast to work every single frame that we are playing the game. So we need function update, open bracket, close bracket, open curly bracket. And next we need to do, actually we need three variables in this. So we'll do var, and I always do this because I feel it's the easiest thing to do, keeping my code uniform. Whenever I do a Raycast, I always use the same variable, hit. and that will be of type Raycast hit semicolon, and then we need to do an if statement. Now we've written virtually the same sort of script before. I think it's handgun damage, yes. So we've basically written this before. It's going to be slightly different because if you remember, we used, instead of hit last time, we used shot. Now the reason I'm using hit this time is because when I develop games myself, I usually do use hit. But because we used shot last time, I'm going to use hit this time. It's up to you what you want to put this variable as. Just remember what you do name it. So if physics dot raycast, then open bracket, and we need transform dot position, comma, and then transform dot, and then remember you need capital letters on this bit, transform direction, and then vector 3 dot forward. So we're ensuring that we are firing our raycast forward with this line. Close bracket there, comma, and then the variable. So in this case, hit. And then we need to close bracket and close bracket again to end this if statement. And then open curly bracket. We need to put to target equals hit dot distance. So what we've done here is basically make how far away it is to our target equals to our variable to target, which is a float, because the chances of having a raycast a whole number are very, very, very slim, because it is somewhat accurate with how far things are away. And the next line, we're going to have distance from target, which is our static variable, if you remember. So this will be the one which is called from other scripts. We'll make that equal to target, semicolon. And then we need to close curly bracket to end the if statement, and then close curly bracket to end our function and save. Now you may be wondering why we've basically made to target equal to something and then something else equals to target, rather than make distance from target equal to hit.distance. The reason is because in scripting, I always like to have, if I have a static variable, I like to also have an internal variable equal to that static variable, so as I can see the actual number of it in Unity itself. So hopefully, if we go back to Unity now, I've spelled raycast hit wrong right there. So that should be raycast hit, not raycast hit. Okay, so save it. Head back into Unity, and I've also spelled physics wrong. I'm having a bad day today, aren't I? I put fistics. No idea what fistics are, but it should be physics. Third time lucky. Back into Unity. Yes, okay, we're fine. So let's clear our console of anything. If I know a lot of you people have asked about this, deduct points has no receiver. Yes, I know I misspelt message a couple of tutorials ago. You don't need to keep telling me. We'll fix it next tutorial, okay? I realized after I made that tutorial that I had misspelt message, 1S, not 2. It doesn't make much of a difference at the moment, to be honest. Okay, so our script, player casting, you need to attach it to your first person character, not first person controller. So make sure you drag and drop just there. Now, if we click on first person character, you'll see to target down there, 0. Hopefully, when we press play now, you should see that number change as we move along. So if you've done it right now, you're playing your game and you're moving along, in the bottom right where it says player casting, you should now see that number change repeatedly whenever you make the slightest movement. So next thing we need to do is we need to create a sort of maybe a switch kind of thing. Let's head to our door just here, and let's create, just for now, a cube next to it. So 3D object, cube. Let's just bring this to there, and let's pretend this is our switch to open the door. So I'm going to right click, rename. I'm just going to call it switch 001. And now what we're going to do is we're going to write a script which kind of allows us to press this as a switch and open our door. I'm trying to think of the best way that we can actually do this. So if we right click, create, and JavaScript, I'm going to call this one something simple, open door 001, and let's open it up to edit. As always, let's delete everything it gives us. Now, what we're better off doing at the moment on this one is I'm going to import Unity engine.ui just in case it decides to throw up any errors because we're using some UI in this script. So we need to set two variables. The first variable we're going to have as text display, and that will be of type game object semicolon. The next one, let's just call it the distance. So we need to bring into this script the value which we have created from our player casting script. If you remember, we made this distance from target. So we need that number in this script. So to do that, all you do is the distance is a float, and it's equal to player casting dot distance from target semicolon. Now we're going to use a couple of functions in this. I think how many we're going to need. We're going to need 4 functions, I think, in this script, and I'm not entirely sure if it is important about the order of these particular functions, but we'll soon see. Now, function update should be the first one, open close bracket. Now, in this function, it may not necessarily be important for you to have this line of code, but I like to keep it just in case. All I'm doing is repeating this just here. So I'm just quickly going to copy that, paste it, and take away that. So it should say the distance is equal to player casting dot distance from target. That's all we need in the function update. The next function is on mouse over. So function on mouse over, open close bracket, open curly bracket. Now the purpose of this function is whenever our mouse is hovering over the object which this script is attached to, we have to then perform an if statement. So if, open bracket, the distance is less than or equal to, let's say, how far away do we want to be from this switch? Let's say 2. Close bracket and then open curly bracket. So if it is equal or less than 2, then we want to change the text on our UI that we made in the beginning of this episode to say open door. So to do that, text display, which is the variable we set earlier, dot get component dot open spiky bracket text, and remember it is important to have a capital T on that text. Oh, and open close bracket after the close spiky bracket, dot text equals, should we have it as open door or press button? It is a button, so let's have it as press button. And then a semicolon. And then we need to close curly bracket and then close curly bracket. So the next function is on mouse exit. And what we're going to need to do on this is, helps if we do the open close bracket and open curly bracket. If the mouse isn't over this particular object, then all we need to do is copy this bit here and paste it here and change the words from press button to nothing. So you have a double quote and then close curly bracket, and let's save that. So we've done 3 functions. The 4th function is to actually animate the door itself. This episode has gone on for a bit longer than I would have actually liked. So let's quickly check that everything works as intended for now. I see it. Don't press play yet. It would have helped if we'd have actually dragged our script onto our switch. So switch 001, we need to put on a script we wrote, which is open door. Let's say I couldn't find it then. So we need to change text display, which is in our canvas. There it is. So canvas, and we just had it as text. So let's drag and drop that there. So let's try this again. So let's walk over here. So you can see there's nothing on our screen, no UI. We can look at it from here, which is fine. So if we go up to it, we can see it now says press button when we hover over this on our screen. So I'm going to leave this tutorial there for now. Next episode, we'll develop our script further. We'll actually enable our door to open. Like I say, this episode I decided to take a break from our basic mechanics to kind of develop our world a little more. Being focused on one thing for too long can drive you insane, especially in a first-person shooter. Trying to get mechanics just right will fry your brain, believe me. So next episode, we're going to go back to a little more gun mechanics as well, because we're going to sort out our negative figures. As you can see, we have negative figures. So we're going to sort that out as well as sorting out our door just here. So just quickly recap. I know we've done quite a bit of coding and it may be a bit complicated in this episode. Our player casting is basically creating a raycast, seeing how far away objects are and putting it into a number for us. We're then bringing that number into here and checking if we are as close to that as we want to be. And if we are, it says press button. So as I say, next episode, the first thing we'll do in here, we'll put in the next function, which will allow us to open the door. Episode 11 of this series won't be too far away. I know it is a bit of a time between the tutorials at the moment. That's because I'm dealing with a couple of other series, and I'm also dealing with development of Deep Within. But I will try and get the next episode as quick as possible. So until then, you build up your world, put as many doors in as you want, you do whatever, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.